had to almost like revert to type a little bit to win. I thought he was a little bit sloppy, fell in a little bit too much, got a little bit tired towards the back end, but I think that he needed that. You know, he needed good rounds against an elite cruiserweight, because it's probably what's been lacking. The last few performances, it hasn't gone deep into the fight, and he's looked really good and brutal, but I feel like the back end he didn't survive, but he got clumsy and used his attributes, which is his strength on the inside, to lock Sislak up and beat him convincingly. And I thought Sislak was very tough. You know, he was hurt badly in the first round. The fifth round, I think he fractured a couple of ribs as well along the way. But you know, it was a good learning experience for Lawrence.
How important are fights like this? He's going to move up to heavyweight. At some point, he's also British was here, so
yeah. I mean, I think that sometimes the fans don't like to see the back end of, you know, that, particularly those last sort of five rounds. But you've got to be in the ring, and you've got to be in situations with elite guys like that to be able to fight and beat the guys like Maris Bradis and guys at that level. He came in too heavy really to camp, and I think he probably lost a little bit too much weight, and I think he struggled in the last few rounds of that fight, and it's inevitable that he's going to move to heavyweight, because he's probably going to end up being 16, 17 stone up at heavyweight. But I just believe he can unify, and I think he can beat the other cruiserweights, and hopefully Maris Bradis can be one of those guys.
I'm looking online, and a lot of people are talking about that ring, but Anthony Joshua is the understanding.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
Big for his profile.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously he's managed by AJ, and I think that it was. I think that Lawrence, you know, sometimes he gets a little bit of unfair criticism coming through, but the fans are quite so brutal. They're quite vocal, and for many fights in his early part of his career, particularly the Matty Askin fight and the Chamberlain fight, he was out of his depth. So he uses his attributes to win fights. And tonight, after not doing that for 3 or 4 fights, he just had to do it in the back end, because Sislak was very dangerous. He didn't stop trying. He was quite dirty. They both were, and it was a very physical fight.
Any quick word on Jordan Gill's dramatic win?
Amazing. I mean, Jordan Gill perforated both eardrums. He could not stand up. And Dave Caldwell basically said to him, just put your leg on the turnbuckle and don't move. And just try and find a shot. And it had to be one shot, because if he hurt him, he couldn't move. He couldn't stand up. And in fact, if you watch it back, when he knocked out Gurphy, he fell over himself and he went through the ropes. It was just, you know, I was thinking they should stop the fight, really, because he was just taking punishment, and Dave just said to him, just try and find the one shot. And it was probably the most remarkable thing I've ever seen.
It's got to be up there with Danny Williams and Audley Harrison one day.
Yeah, but I mean, Audley had an injured pec, but Jordan couldn't stand up. I mean, I was thinking, when he first started in the corner, I was saying to Chisora, who was next to me, what's he been watching you? Because that's what Dell does. But Dell does it more for a laugh. You know, whereas Jordan Gill just could not stand. Couldn't stand up. The only chance he had in that fight was to land one haymaker and knock him spark out. And he'd done it. It was unbelievable.
And he's not a known puncher?
No, I know. Well, it wasn't like during the fight, he looked like he was going to lay him out flat. And Gurphy's got to be thinking, what have I done? It's a bit like, remember when Hay boxed Bellew? You know, like Bellew was going in, he didn't have, and all Hay could do, he couldn't move. So amazing.
Gill, your fight tonight, making his debut. Not many people get to win a belt on their debut. You spoke beforehand about Canelo undercard potentially next. Is that what you'd like?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to use the attributes that we've got, which is we've got a global platform and we do huge shows around the world. And if someone's going to be a global star, and he's the guy who's got ability to win world championships, you know, I think within 12 months, they're the kind of cards that he should be fighting on, whether that's Madison Square Garden, whether that's MGM Grand. It was a brilliant performance and a really good fight. Like Bautista, I was thinking to myself after 2 or 3 rounds, I'm not sure this was the greatest decision, because he took a few, but he was calm, his footwork was great, his shot selection was great, and it was the perfect fight actually, and a perfect performance.
Has his stocks risen then? Because I'm pretty sure beforehand you said maybe 6, 7 fights until the world title fight, now he's saying
I mean,
at the end of the year.
yeah, you just, all we know is he passed that test and we're ready to move forward and step up again. If he struggled a little bit in that fight, you'd say, well, let's calm down. But he dealt with it very easy. And the thing that impressed me the most was his fitness. You know, he wasn't even breathing.
Just got to ask about the atmosphere as well.
Oh, amazing.
Incredible.
I would like to say that I'm a genius and I picked Sislak because I knew we'd get an atmosphere like that. Now, I knew we'd have some Polish fans in there, but I think we had like 5,200 people in there for them, and it was busy during the night, and then all of a sudden I got in the ring for the main event, turned around, there wasn't a seat left. So they must have all been in the bar. And I reckon there was 2,500 Polish in there. And it was a brilliant atmosphere. And actually, to be honest with you, the fight got a little bit boring in the closing stages, and without that atmosphere, you would have really noticed it a lot more. And I thought the fans were brilliant, even for the Fowler fight. You know, it was really good.
Any plans on bringing more Polish fighters over?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's what you want in atmosphere. I mean, you forget it's a Sunday.
How do you think it worked Sunday?
I mean, we were a bit unlucky with the football because, what was it, about 59, 58 on penalties or something, went on until about 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so the turnover just before
Jordan Gill, yeah, that was, and I was trying to get DAZN just to hold Gill because, but you know, I think from a viewing perspective, I think Sunday evening boxing works. From a fan's perspective, we got lucky with the Polish fans tonight because of the atmosphere, but it is a different kind of vibe. I mean, I love you guys, but it's 11:06 on a Sunday. I do want to get home. You know?
Eddie, just a quick word on Asia. He was in the building earlier. Obviously, with the current situation in Ukraine, is there any news on potential rematch, etc.?
No, I mean, I keep getting asked this question. I keep saying, I feel a bit bad saying, as far as I'm concerned, we're moving on with the fight. Like, no one's spoken to me from Team Usyk to say there could be a problem, but there's bigger things on their plate right now, I guess, quite frankly. So we respect that. You know, it's an emotional time for those guys in that country. We're preparing still for May, or early June, and I expect to finalise a date with Alex Krasuk as planned over the next probably 1 or 2 weeks.
Just a quick question of last night as well. Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall, obviously massive controversy. Everyone's saying it was a disgrace, to be honest. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
It happens too often, and it's not the British Boxing Board of Control. I mean, look, I feel like they're an outstanding commission. We see this with international judges, with governing body judges, but we also see it with the British Boxing Board of Control. People need to be held accountable. Anyone in a job who performs badly is held accountable. So it should be no different in that scenario when the future and the dreams of an individual are in your hands. So Tony Bellew made a good point that, you know, he says, you know, we get our faces punched in for 36 minutes, and after the fight, everyone's sticking mics in our, wanting to know what happened, why did we do this, why did we do this? Yet they're protected to a point where they don't have to say anything. And the board, unfortunately, and yet, you know, you respect it as well. They like to protect their officials. They don't want them in front of the media. They would like to stand up for them and say, look, judging is, you know, it's opinions. But when everybody gets it wrong, and when the whole world scores a fight one way, and 3 people score it the other way, 2 people particularly, especially 114, 111, just doesn't make sense. So you've got a kid from Chorley in Lancashire. I couldn't believe, I only turned the fight on after 5 rounds, so I have to watch the fight back. But even from the 5th round, I had him winning the fight, and apparently he won the first 4 rounds. So, but at the same time, I'm watching the fight in the 11th round thinking, I cannot believe Jack Catterall is about to become undisputed world champion. And they robbed him of that. And he should have woke up. And you can say, oh, he'll get another chance, but he'll never get a chance like that. He'll never get a chance to become undisputed again. He'll never get a chance to go to Scotland and win away. He'll never get the chance to earn the kind of money that he could have earned if the right decision was made. And boxing is one of the few sports where an official has a very, has a very big, it has such a huge part in the destiny of an athlete. Do you know what I mean? If you're running a race, if you're playing a game of football, yeah, it could be offside, could not be. LBW, now we go to Hawkeye. But in boxing, a bad decision will ruin your legacy. And you know, And that's what we saw last night.
So what needs to be done then? Like, what do you think needs changing?
I think they need to be held accountable. I think we need to be speaking to these officials. Also, one of my concerns is and those 3 judges are good officials, by the way. But since I've been promoting boxing, they've always been there. And where is the new influx of officials? It's not something that young kids are going, do you know what, I want to be a boxing judge. But we need to bring new people into the sport, in my opinion, to officiate, because it's the same people all the time. Are they doing too many? Do they have too many opinions? You know, subconscious opinions of. People talk about corruption, total load of box, but sometimes an inability to score a fight correctly. But again, good officials, but they get it wrong. And when they get it wrong, because of what's on the line and because how brutal the sport is, it magnifies the decision 100 times, like we've seen, upward. And it puts people off the sport, which is a terrible thing. So we need to make a point of this to say, okay, we know that was wrong, and this is what we're doing to deal with it. Subject, further to people's opinions, we don't select judges, promoters. We don't have any ability to choose judges or have any decisions, or influx of influence over any decisions. But the Commission do, and the Commission has to be responsible for poor officiating, which we see last night.
Eddie, just a quick one, Canelo and Bivol. You worked with Bivol obviously previously. Who's your loyalty with in that fight?
I mean, I represent both guys, but it'd be very difficult not to be with Canelo Alvarez. Got a great relationship. My job is to give Bivol opportunities, which we've delivered in the biggest fight in boxing. I wish him all the best, and it's a great fight.
Before today's bout, you were saying that Usyk is one of the top cruiserweights. You still keep the same impression?
Yeah, because he took a lot from Okolie, especially to the body, and he kept on coming, kept on trying. I don't think many would have taken the right hands, the body shots that he took tonight, and kept coming. So yeah, I believe he's one of the best cruiserweights in the world.
And in your opinion, we've probably seen the dirtiest fights in the recent years?
Dirty?
Dirty, yeah.
Yeah, pretty dirty. I mean, they were both at it, back of the head, but sometimes Okolie can hold too much, and at times Sislak was also holding, because it was that kind of fight. But they were working on the inside. It was pretty dirty, a lot of punches after the bell as well. But there was a lot on the line, and Sislak was always trying to win the fight.
Eddie, but was this fight this necessary test that you waited for? Or
Test? Yeah, it was actually, yeah. Because you need to beat guys like that, and Lawrence had to find a way to win. And sometimes it wasn't pretty, but that's one of his best attributes, is his strength on the inside. It's not always the most entertaining to watch, but sometimes when something gets tough, it's not just about being entertaining, it's about winning, and that was his way to win.
You were having a conversation with AJ during the fight. Was it related to the main event?
Yeah, we were talking about.
What was he saying about what we saw?
He was shouting, he wanted to see Lawrence knock him out, but just maintain the space, and don't wait with the right hand. Throw the right hand more, probably throw more combinations. But also, AJ felt that Sislak was very tough, and especially in the last few rounds, took a lot of big right hands, and not many could have taken those right hands.
Was he happy with Lawrence's performance?
He was happy that he won.
Okay.
I think that we all accept it wasn't Lawrence's best performance, but it was also his toughest fight by far, and the toughest opponent of his career, and he won the fight fairly comfortably. It wasn't pretty all the time, but he still beat a very good cruiserweight convincingly.
Obviously, we have Myers Bradis was in the house tonight, and he's in his 30s now.
Yeah.
Going off of Lawrence's performance tonight, what can you think of that performance into a fight with Myers Bradis?
He can take the experience. He can take the fact that he's gone 12 rounds with one of the best cruiserweights in the world, and I think that coming off. Shane, come sit down. And I think coming off, the Glowacki fight, I think the one thing that Lawrence hasn't yet done is fall elite cruiserweight after elite cruiserweight, and now he's starting to rack up the resume where he does that. And I think when you get thrown in against Bradis and these guys, that 12 rounds is going to be really, really important, and he can reflect back on that. And he had to tough it out, you know, and he's very strong. Like, as I said to you before, I was just saying, sometimes your best attribute is your ability to lock up an opponent. But when you're fighting these top guys, it's all very well saying, yeah, just knock him out, but you've got to win by any means necessary. And that's what you did in the second half of the fight.